Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Mighty Dave Show. I am LA Kings Dave Gove, and with me is Dave Birding, also known as Birdbag. How you doing?
Hi. Pretty good. It's tournament, high school tournaments going on, so I've been heavily engrossed in that for the past couple days. And for some reason, you keep cutting out on me, but that's cool.
Oh, am I cutting out right now?
Yeah, a little, but I'm not
Oh.
gonna. I won't hold it against you.
Okay, let me, we don't have any listeners yet, so that's okay. Let me see, alright. 1 second. Is that better now?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you haven't cut out at all, but it's just like during the intros, you cut out a little.
Okay, well, let's just keep going and hope for the best.
Yeah.
What's that?
Do we have any listeners now, or still nothing?
No, not yet. It's okay.
Dave, did you tweet the link out?
I did.
There you go.
We'll have some in a minute. It always starts like this. Whenever we do these live things, like, we get people to listen to the show later, so it's okay.
I never see the stats on it or anything, so I'm just.
Yeah, I just.
We do or do not have listening. I'm always in the dark on it.
It's okay. We probably should have promoted the show a little better this week, but it's okay.
Well, there's so many things going on Twitter anyway.
Well, speaking of things that are going on, hockey's going on, which is what we care the most about. So I was going to ask you a question, since you've been covering the high school tournament in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you, for those people that don't know enough, I mean, everybody knows and hears about high school hockey in Minnesota, and it's like this almost mythical thing now. But why don't you just break it down for us a little bit on, like, how many teams are playing and divisions and things like that, and how it's set up so people understand? Because it is the biggest high school hockey tournament in the world. So,
Well, there's girls and boys tournament hockey. The way it breaks down is that there's Class A and Class 2A. Class 2A is more like the bigger schools, like Edina. Class A is for smaller schools. So I believe that your classification is based on, I think, either school size and just, like, I think your level of competition. But I could be wrong on that. So don't quote me on that. Anyway, there are, I can't even tell you how many sections there are. I believe there's 8 sections. Dave, are you still there? Or are you muted? Anyway, so
yeah, no, just keep going. It's cool. I was just making something, so I didn't want to interfere.
no, that's fine. So basically, teams will go through section playoffs, and it's kind of like in their district, and that determines who goes into the tournament. And there's only 8 teams that move on to the actual tournament, and so when the tournament starts, it's quarterfinals. So you have girls and boys. So in total, there's 32 teams that are competing for the championship, I guess you could, in a way to put it. Right now, we have boys going on, and this is God. I mean, this has been going. This is the 71st annual high school tournament for boys. Girls started back in '95, I believe. So when you refer to the boys tournament, the tagline that goes along with it is "It's a tradition like no other," and that's pretty accurate. I mean, I saw attendance numbers yesterday when I was watching some of the games, and it was middle of the day, and there's like 15,000 people there. So it's a pretty big deal here. Like a lot of schools too, like a lot of the smaller ones, if their school's in it, they'll cancel school for the day just so people can go watch. And even still, like if a school doesn't have a team in it, a lot of parents, I've talked to some people on Reddit and stuff that went to school here, and they said that their parents would pull them out of school just so they could go watch the tournament. So it's
Wow.
Yeah, it's a huge thing here. Also, the Class AA championship game will easily sell out and then some. I think the largest game in Minnesota for an indoor hockey game was 19,000, and that was at the tournament a few years ago.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So now you're going Are you going to it, or?
No, no, not this year.
Okay. But you're going to NCAA finals for the women.
Oh yeah, going to the Frozen Four. That's right. Yep.
That's fantastic.
I'm looking forward to it.
So this week was obviously big in NHL because of the trade deadline. And quite a few teams were active, but probably the most active, I would say, would be Anaheim and maybe St. Louis, although St. Louis's moves weren't that big. So, who do you think in the trade deadline so far won and lost?
I gotta say, I thought the Habs did pretty well in the trade deadline. They got some pretty good return. I'll have to pull it up actually. So I think the Habs did well. I thought Anaheim did pretty decent. I thought the Wild did okay, just from my own fan perspective. I think thought LA did. I mean, LA didn't really do much, did they? If I remember right, they didn't really.
We didn't do anything on trade deadline day, but we did get Andre Sekera.
Okay.
The week up. So.
Well, as far as so leading up to the trade deadline and trade deadline, I mean, sometimes it's better to not do anything at all. Just because for example, I think the Chris Stewart trade that Minnesota made with Buffalo was kind of unnecessary, especially for a second pick in 2017. But we'll see how it works out. I think it was a short-term fix for the Wild since Cook's out, Carter's out still, I believe, with an injury. So,
well, just to go down a little bit, as far as the big names that got traded, obviously, Olli Jokinen getting moved after he already got moved, and he goes down to St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know how much that's going to help, but there was a lot of small moves this year on trade deadline, so not a lot of big names going. Perhaps the most surprising, maybe not for the move itself, but for what they got back, was Tampa Bay trading for Coburn from Philadelphia and giving up a first round and a third round pick plus Radko Gudas.
I have a feeling, I don't know if you feel this way, but I kind of have a feeling this year for this trade deadline that some of the players were a little overvalued. I thought Sekera was a fair price, but the Coburn trade, for a first and a second, and Radko Gudas, and just some of the trades, it just seemed a little overvalued in my opinion.
Quite a few overvalued. But
nature of the beast.
I thought that there were some teams like Arizona that even though they fire sailed, man, did they get a good haul.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And I mean they're shoring up their future, definitely. So even though they didn't really get anything to improve their team now, it's definitely going to help them in the long run. Wow, that was a heck of a goal. Bounce right off the pads, and this kid, as he's diving, just whacks at the puck and it goes right in.
I like how you're watching high school hockey instead of the Wild, even though it's on right now.
Okay, I'll put it this way: the Wild play 82 games a year, at least. High school hockey in this tournament alone only happens once a year.
Right, I get that.
So, to be honest with you, this game that I'm watching right now, Duluth versus Edina. Edina's a perennial champion.
Now, I thought, okay, I've seen on a lot of posts, a lot of people saying, fuck Edina.
Yes.
So, or Edina, however you want to, I don't know. How was it pronounced?
Edina.
Edina? Okay,
Edina.
That's what I thought. Now, is there some sort of history about that? Are they like the Montreal Canadiens of high school hockey, or what's going on there?
Well, okay, so back in the day, Edina, not so much now, the money's kind of gone west, and Ari would agree with me here when I say fuck Wayzata, because that's where, like, Orono, Wayzata, and this is all on the western suburbs, that's pretty much where the money is now. But Edina back then used to be a very rich neighborhood, and it still is. It's an affluent city, but I don't think it's ranked up there quite as high as it used to be. So, I mean, a lot of people don't like it just because of the people there. Obviously, there are exceptions because Ari, hello, you're cool. I don't know. I've been to Edina. I think the city's all right, but I know a lot of people have problems with just the citizens there. I will say though, I mean I don't really like Edina, and usually if like an Iron Range school makes it in, I'll cheer for them just because they're a small school. I will say that as much as I don't like Edina, I hate the private schools even more. And the reason for that is because private schools, unlike public schools, private schools can go out and openly recruit, and they're not restricted to an area of where their students can be. So Edina, for example, their student, it's like high school. Just you can only go to a certain place as long as you're within the district lines. It's that type of thing. Private schools, and especially St. Thomas Academy, which everybody absolutely hates unless they're affiliated with it somehow. They'll go out and recruit kids when they're like 7th, 8th grade, so that they can get them to come to their school, as freshmen, so they can beef up their team. One of the things that makes hockey unique here is that everybody really cares about the community and playing for your community. So picking kids out of wherever they live just to come play for your team is pretty frowned upon.
It's just like Adam Banks and the Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. Just for reference so everybody understands. District 5.
Yeah.
Obviously Adam Banks was supposed to be in District 5, so they rezoned it.
Yep.
Jeez, how hard is it to understand? All right, well, that's pretty cool. I mean, I played high school hockey, but out here in California, we only had roller hockey, so it wasn't nearly that big of a deal. Nobody gave a shit. So, would be cool to play in that tournament if I was a high school kid.
I know there's people that, I mean, you can even see this on Reddit too. There's people that have played in this tournament, and they said it's probably one of the highlights of their life, just stepping on the ice with all those people screaming. Because normally at a high school game, you're probably lucky to draw maybe 200 people, if that, depending on where you're playing. So it's really cool to come to an NHL arena and have it completely sell out just to watch high school hockey. And it's not even people that are fans of either team, they're just going just to watch, just because the event here is so huge.
All right. Well, moving on to a little different topic. This week we saw Phil Kessel call out the media in Toronto for their way that they treat Dion Phaneuf.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also saw Olli Jokinen, who just got traded from Toronto, saying perhaps players don't want to come here because of you guys, in reference to the media. So, we also saw, now TSN isn't necessarily just Toronto, but TSN during the Trade Center threw out a tweet from somebody on Twitter that said that he didn't want to see. Excuse me, I lost it now. But basically, it was a tweet regarding Lupul having sex with Dion's wife, and that blew up as well. So they had issued apology for that. Basically, Lupul then decided he wanted to try to fight people on Instagram. So it's been quite the week for Toronto's players as far as social media and just media in general go.
Well, not even them. Patrick Sharp, too, with all the locker room rumors with Sharp sleeping with Clint Reif's wife, and Clint Reif is the assistant equipment manager that committed suicide. So, yeah, journalism, I'd say at this point, journalism's almost dead. At least quality journalism. A lot of it now is just turning into clickbait stuff.
Hot takes.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense why, just because that's, online media is pretty much where all the money is. You're not going to get a whole lot from print these days. So, you got to get clicks somehow, but the way they're getting clicks, I don't agree with. Yeah, I don't know.
Everything's about headlines.
Yeah,
People don't even read the body of things anymore.
No, No, that is true.
I
I
mean,
give
you see that on Reddit as well. It's like people go into the comments and it'll be like, "Oh, I didn't read the actual article."
mhm. No, I give Kessel a lot of credit for standing up for his captain like that. I mean, I think anybody would, but have the balls. And Kessel's notorious. I wouldn't say notorious, but he's very much well known for not wanting to talk to the media. Just doesn't want to talk to anyone. So I think for him to do that, I think that says a lot as a teammate.
Well, Lupo called TSN a poor man's TMZ
Hmm.
and said that they were embarrassing. So you don't really. Oftentimes, like you'll hear people call out maybe one or two members of the media if they do something or say something about a player or something like that, and maybe they'll never talk to them again or won't do interviews with them.
Hmm.
But they're basically just calling out the media as a whole this week,
Yeah.
aside from Lupo with TSN. So I'm just wondering, at what point do we start to see more players in other cities react this way as well, and what kind of effect do you think that'll have on players actually giving decent interviews or things like this? I mean, players are already so standoffish, and you get very little actual coverage of people's lives today because they're so private about things, but people want to see that. So,
Well,
is it just going to get worse and worse? I mean, you've seen it even get worse and worse with, like, you went from HBO's 24/7, and you saw a lot of good stuff with that. And then this year with the Epic series, I mean, Chicago basically didn't even let you into anybody's home, and half of their players didn't even get any time on air and things like that.
mhm.
You basically saw the same thing with all the different Kings and Sharks players. It was like, oh, let's just show them with their dog or at the beach or something safe. Like, you didn't really get to know too many people, even that, like you did maybe a few years ago when you actually saw them go to parties with players in New York or things like that. So
Yep.
I'm wondering if it's just the Players Association just doesn't want them, like doesn't want people to see what actually goes on, and they're just going to become more and more closed off, and then you're going to have less fan interaction.
I think that's a product of not only the Players Association, but probably the coaches and the front office staff as well. I would say have a say in that too. And I'm glad you brought up the HBO example because I was going to reference that before you brought it up. We saw this back when it was Flyers Rangers. I remember after it came out and after the Flyers lost, Paul Holmgren, who was the GM at the time, said, this isn't Brizz's comedy hour. And I mean,
But he was the most loved thing about that entire series.
yeah, well, no, but his excuse was that maybe we lost that game just because people were too focused on HBO and who was in the room. So I think with the media, with what's been happening, and with HBO or Epics, I guess now, with what's been going on there, I still think we're gonna get stuff, but it's gonna be very guarded and even more vague answers. But no matter what you say, people are gonna try to read between the lines and make up something that isn't there. So I don't really see it, as far as the actual journalism goes, I don't really see it getting any better than what it is.
Well, I bring that up also because today, on the Players Tribune, which is a website created by Derek Jeter, which we all love, it's basically just a website where athletes actually write articles. So you get things straight from the athlete. And we've been seeing more athletes doing this, and today Ryan Kessler had an article published about adapting to Anaheim and the locker room there, especially after 10 years of playing in Vancouver, where he punched Corey Perry and Ryan Getzlaf in the face at different times. And I kind of wonder if we're going to see more things like this instead, where the players just voice their own thing. But I wonder also, I would be fearful that at some point the Players Association will crack down on that too, because the Players Tribune's only been out for a year, if that, and you've seen a lot of eye-opening things from different people in the perspective of the actual athlete himself, about writing a book or something after he's retired. So I'm curious if that'll get cracked down on too, and I really hope it doesn't. But it's really kind of a shame how many athletes have a cork put in them, even though we live in supposedly a land of freedom of speech.
Yep.
You get fined for criticizing refs of the league. I don't understand how that's legal, but
I think some people kind of forget too that not only are you representing yourself, you're also representing the team.
well, that's true.
So, in a sense, you do have to kind of be careful with what you say, but at the same time, I don't like it when the players essentially have to be robots. That's why I like the All-Star Weekend, because I feel like they know that the pressure's off and they can just kind of be themselves, because nobody's really taking that event seriously anyway. So I feel like the All-Star Game's a good chance for them to get their personalities out. I mean, like you saw that with Ovi, with the car thing during the draft. But yeah, I don't know. As far as something like the Players Tribune goes, I wouldn't be shocked if the Players Association doesn't lock down on that. I wouldn't be shocked if within the next CBA there's something about players not being able to write articles for a third-party website or something.
They'd only have to publish it through NHL.com or something like that.
That or just they can't even write anything unless it's approved by something. I mean, I could see a restriction being on there. And all it's going to take is one controversial article. But
I was a little surprised that there wasn't any blowback actually from Logan Couture's article earlier this year, where he basically broke down how he plays against different centers throughout the league.
Mm-hmm.
I love that article, but
I think
he's given away part of his strategy on things. And if I was the coach, I'd be like, why are you letting these guys know how you play against them?
Well, he's been in the league 4 years.
He was drafted in 07, I know that, because he was a year earlier than Drew Doughty.
Okay.
I think he came in 09 or 010. 010. What am I saying?
I mean, a lot of players come and go, but it's normally like the third and fourth line players. A guy like him, you're playing against almost every night. So I think at this point, with how long he's been in the league, it's almost the way he plays. It's almost not even a secret, because think about how much film is being watched on him by opposing teams.
True. Yeah, he came in 09 10.
Okay. So yeah, well, and something like that too. I think with an article saying, this is how I play against certain people, I'd almost say that you don't necessarily think about that all the time, but when it's said, I was like, oh, it makes sense. But yeah, I mean, I don't really expect players to play the same way every single night against different people.
True. Moving on. This season, we might not have even a 90-point player in the league,
mm-hmm.
as far as scoring goes. It's projected to be the lowest scoring season, at least the lowest scoring Art Ross winner in at least 40 years, 50 years maybe. And that's since back in the time when they didn't even play 80 games. So there's been some speculation as to why this is, and one of the interesting theories I heard was that it's because we're getting rid of the enforcer. And you're getting rid of guys that are grinders, and you're putting in guys with skill on the fourth line, or third line even.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, all three lines have guys with skill, and it makes it more difficult for the first and second lines to do as much as they did in the past. It's an interesting theory, but I also think that part of it is just the league in general and everybody else is so much more competitive than they were back in the day that everybody's good. So it's not like you have a lot of scrubs anywhere.
I think a lot of it has to do with the analytics really coming into play. It's still, as far as stats go, I mean, it's still kind of in its infancy, but you can definitely tell it's catching on. So yeah, I think a lot of coaches now are kind of moving towards trying to have a puck possession team rather than a team, traditional team of, checking line, just a grinding line, having a guy on a line that can pound the snot out of someone. Instead, it's more just guys that can forecheck well, try to keep possession of the puck, get it on net. So I think in that regard, especially defensively, I think that's an explanation as to why we're not going to have that high of a scoring year this year. I don't know. Things could change. I mean, didn't Crosby? I believe he had 104 points last year. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah, no, he had a decent season last year.
Yeah. So I don't think we're. I think this might just be a down year. I don't think this is going to happen next year. But who knows? It could. Honestly, I don't really mind it because I think hockey right now is really exciting to watch, just in the NHL alone. And I think I remember seeing that thread on Reddit. Somebody said, "Is this a return to the dead puck era?" Which it didn't. I kind of laughed at just because the dead puck era was back when Lemaire was prevalent, and a team like New Jersey was running the trap. So I don't. We don't really see that anymore. I think the games are just exciting to watch, just because it's a lot of back and forth now, just because of how skilled players are. So yeah, I think this season, as far as not having a 90-point score, is, I wouldn't say an anomaly, but I think it's going to be slightly rare. And I think next season we'll see another 100-point scorer.
Well, I would say the dead puck era was right around late 90s, early 2000s, really. I don't know.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, for sure.
So just to give an idea, though, the leading scoring team in like 99-2000 was Detroit with 278 goals. Last season, the highest scoring team was Chicago with 267.
Mm-hmm.
So even across the board, when you compare it to the dead puck, it is a similar comparison. So I can see why they say that. Now you saw scoring go up a bit and after some expansion and things like that, but we haven't had expansion in 15 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So teams and more talent have come into the league. I think that this might also be one reason why they're looking to expand again, because once you expand, you dilute the talent pool, and scoring goes back up again.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I think it's just.
Do you think that there's a better way to solve this problem? I mean, they've talked about doing 4-on-4 in overtime, 3-on-3. I mean, they already do 4-on-4, but going from 4-on-4 to 3-on-3 in overtime. But that's not going to help that much in 5 minutes. Do you think? I mean, they've made so many rule adjustments to try to increase scoring. Would you, for those that don't know, way back in the day, NHL used to have all penalties, including 2-minute penalties, be major penalties. So you would have a 2-minute power play for the entire time, even if somebody scored. Do you think that that's something we might see come back?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. If it were me, everybody hates the trapezoid, and I wish they'd get rid of it. I think if you got rid of the trapezoid, you'd see more. I think you'd see more puck handling be more of a skill for goaltenders, and essentially, what that would lead to, or what it could lead to, is your goalie basically being a third defenseman and sending out the breakout pass up the ice. I think getting rid of the trapezoid could help with offense a little. But I mean, as far as rule changes go, I like the game as it is now. I'd only make a couple minor exceptions. One being, like I said, getting rid of the trapezoid. The other being going to 4-on-4 OT for 5 minutes and then 3-on-3 for 5 minutes. And then after that, if you need be, there'd be a shootout. So, I don't know.
The minor leagues are already trying that this season.
Yeah, and I think they said shootouts have been down at one point. They've been down about 33% or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it goes back to just players being more skilled and us seeing just a more possession game.
I asked, why do you think scoring is down? And Jameis said, because the Hamburger is in town. Well,
Didn't the Hamburglar just lose to Minnesota the other night?
ouch. I will say, Andrew Hammond has come in and played amazing for Ottawa.
Yeah, I think before the Wild game he was 5-0 with a 1.3 or 1.3 goals allowed average, something ridiculous.
And Cassie says the trend of bigger goalies might be contributing. And it could also just be an off year, like you said. Now, that is something that is interesting because while pads have gotten smaller, goalies have gotten bigger.
Yep.
And they did it. There was a post, I forget which blog it was on earlier this week, about the size of players getting bigger through the history of the NHL. And everybody knows that sports in general, everybody gets bigger. Evolution, everybody gets bigger. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You'll be bigger, faster, stronger. But back in the day, the goalies were always the smallest part of the team. And just within the last 15 to 20 years, all of a sudden now, goalies are the tallest and biggest. I mean, they're not always the heaviest, but they are the tallest players in the league. So that is a very good point by Cassie. They're getting. I mean, goalies are also just getting better fundamentally.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you look back at goalies, even the great goalies, like Patrick Waugh, when you go back and look at how he played back in the day, yes, he was a trendsetter, but I think a lot of people would say that he probably didn't play the position as well as some goalies do today, which is maybe sacrilege, but goaltending is definitely a big.
I just like to point out that Carey Price and Pekka Rinne are over 6'2", so it definitely helps to have a big goalie.
Yeah. Well, they don't have to. I mean, they cover a lot more space. So.
Mm-hmm.
So if goalies are getting bigger, will the goal get bigger? I highly doubt that.
No, I don't think so.
I highly doubt that.
Unless they get super desperate for goals, but I don't think we're going to see that ever happen.
I don't think that they'll make the pads any smaller than they are because they won't want goalies getting hurt.
No, for sure. Yeah, no, I think the game's in a good spot with where it is. I just there's a couple rules I would like tweaked, but as a core, I think hockey's, like I said earlier, I think hockey's just super exciting to watch right now. And even in the past couple of years, it's been shown that it's growing. So it's definitely, in America alone. So.
Oh, for sure. No, the game's never been stronger and healthier.
Yeah. And, the old saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I think also you're seeing fans that grew up during the dead puck era, that were kids then, like myself or you, have now reached the point where we're buying season tickets and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we've already grown accustomed to it. So I think at this point, you're getting a whole generation of people that don't care if guys scored like Gretzky did because these kids never even got to watch Gretzky play.
Right.
So maybe it won't matter. Maybe it's just the old-timers thinking that there needs to be more scoring. We need another Wayne Gretzky. But you're never going to have another Wayne Gretzky.
Connor McDavid.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Has he been getting the next one nicknames? Because I remember Crosby had that nickname when he was coming into the league. I didn't know if McDavid was getting the next one, or if that was just reserved exclusively for Crosby, since he was kind of the original Gretzky.
Well, I think that he was only originally called the next one because Wayne Gretzky stated that he thought if anybody could break his records, it'd be Crosby.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, that was a really nice thing of Gretzky to say, but I think he just said that to be nice because he knew that nobody would ever break his records.
Right.
But speaking of McDavid, I mean, the kid's on a ridiculous pace right now. And
I think his point streak's like 2.6 points per game, something ridiculous like that. Or is that goals per game?
I think it's points per game.
Yeah, and I think
it might. If it's goals, that's even more. I'll tell you right now. All right, so he's played 38 games. He has 37 goals and 63 assists for 100 points.
Jeez.
And in comparison to the other recent number one picks overall, doing the same thing, Nathan McKinnon had 65 points through that time, Yakupov 65, Nugent-Hopkins 49, Taylor Hall 68, Tavares 68, Stamkos 62. And Stamkos was one of those guys like McDavid that had been highly touted, along with Tavares, from the time they were like 14.
Mm-hmm.
So McDavid is, a lot of people point this out, McDavid's probably playing on a better team than a lot of these guys played on, but at the same time, when you're 40% better, it's still ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think he's pretty much cemented his place as number one pick. I don't think, even though Eichel is doing things as a freshman in NCAA that you don't see very often, I don't think there's many people that are going to pick Eichel over McDavid at this point.
No way. Not when McDavid could be considered a generational talent.
I think Eichel still...
I think Eichel will be a top 3 pick, but...
He'll be number 2.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. After his little social media incident...
I don't think people care. I don't think GMs care. How many people in sports care about anything other than results? I mean, that's sad to say, but it's...
I mean, a good example I can just think of just recently is Josh Holsang with just kind of speaking out towards the media. I know a lot of people are saying that was kind of hurt his draft stock a little. Well, and plus too with Eichel, I mean, I know they won the Bean Pot, but I mean, GMs could take that as him being like a party kid, which it's college, who isn't. So I don't know. I'd say the lowest he goes is 3rd, but I'll agree that he probably goes 2nd.
By the way, I would like to just give a shout out to Riddick Bowe, 2-time heavyweight champion who just followed us on Twitter.
Oh, nice.
Evidently he's a Maple Leafs fan. And his last tweet was 5 hours ago and said that he doesn't want Kadri to be moved because he's worth his weight in gold. I did not know that Riddick Bowe was a Maple Leafs fan. Evidently he is. So, good job, Riddick Bowe. Actually, this isn't really on topic or anything, but I found it interesting this last week that Charles Barkley, analyst for the NBA and former NBA great, he's a Hall of Famer, he's a former MVP, he was talking about hockey this week and how much he loves watching it, and how then the discussion got to other people in other sports, specifically basketball, saying how much better the hockey playoffs were in the NHL than basketball, even though they're basketball guys. And I was like, that's pretty cool. I mean, I know that we as hockey fans are often like, oh, well, Stanley Cup playoffs are the best and blah, blah, blah. But you don't always hear other people from other sports basically saying the same thing. And obviously the hockey playoffs are a time when more people watch the game than any other time.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of makes you wonder. I mean, there's no way you're ever going to get that intensity during the regular season.
No.
It does kind of make you wonder, like, what you could do to generate as much interest as other sports get during the regular season that hockey doesn't get.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I think when you're a professional team, you have an obligation to do what you can to for the community. And the Ducks are a great example with creating high school leagues out there. But regardless, I think even in the northern markets or the traditional hockey markets, but especially in the southern hockey markets, I think that the teams, if they're not doing what they can to help grow the game, then they're not doing their part. And I know that technically their part is to try to, bring fans in, win the Stanley Cup, all that stuff. But maybe it's just because I'm more community oriented, and this, I don't know if this is just me being from Minnesota or what, but I really think that teams have to do what they can to get the community, to help with the community, not just to get them interested in the team, because I think if you can get hockey just growing, that interest in the team is just going to come organically. I think if you're doing what you can, just help to grow the game in general, I think that's going to help hockey just grow as a sport, and I think that should be the ultimate goal as a hockey fan.
For sure. Well, the fan base that needs to grow is Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And they got Aaron Ekblad, #1 overall in the last draft.
He's been getting talks of the Calder, too.
And this week, it was pointed out he is having the best season by an 18-year-old defenseman in 30 years. Now, when you're in a discussion with Bobby Orr, you're kind of a big deal. Right now, even though he's played as many games as Bobby Orr, he doesn't have as many points, but he's probably going to end up at least close to or passing him for points by an 18-year-old, which is 41, because he's still got almost 20 games left.
Mm-hmm.
And he has 34, 35 points right now. So, Bobby Orr's second all-time for 18-year-old defenseman. #1 is Phil Halsey with 66 points. Ekblad's not going to get there. But still, when you're in a discussion with Bobby Orr, he already passed Scott Stevens and Roman Hammerlick and now Leif Friede. That's a big deal.
Yeah. Well, he's top 10 for rookies in scoring.
Do you think, we've had a couple other guys have good seasons as a rookie, Michael Hutchinson as goalie, Philippe Forsberg. Those are pretty much the only other guys I can think of right now that I'd put it somewhere in the Calder conversation. Do you think that at this point it's Ekblad, or who do you give it to?
For the Calder?
Yeah.
I gotta go with Forsberg. I guess the argument could be that Nashville's just an improved team, but hey, 21 goals, 32 assists. I think there's a couple of rookies that have more. It's just Mike Hoffman and Anders Lee with 23 and 22. But no, the kid's been putting up ridiculous numbers. Yeah, I'd have to give it to Forsberg. He'd be my early pick. I think for who will get nominated, Forsberg. I think Goudreau's the guy you got to look at too to be a nomination. I wouldn't be surprised if Ekblad gets nominated either. I wouldn't pick him to win just because I don't think he's got the points for it.
But he's a defenseman.
All right. I don't know. The Calder's for best rookie. It's not necessarily for the best scoring rookie, but it's kind of trended that way in the past. So I think Ekblad will get nominated. I don't think he's going to win it, though.
See, I think he will, especially because he's 18 and he's doing this. I think, well, if they make the playoffs, that helps a lot, obviously.
Yeah.
Because Forsberg's on a really good team that's first in their division and might end up being first or President's Trophy winner.
Mm-hmm.
So that obviously helps him a lot, especially because he's on the first line there.
An argument can be made that one of the reasons why they're so good is because they have him this year.
That's true.
I don't know. I think Ekblad getting nominated is very likely. I still don't think I don't think we're going to see a defenseman win the Calder unless they're putting up ridiculous numbers. Ekblad obviously is for a defenseman, but John Klingberg in Dallas is 35 points over him in less games played. So,
you were talking about Mike Hoffman over in Ottawa. He actually scored a power play goal recently. I don't know. It was the last game of the game before, but before that he had scored 21 or 22 goals this season without a power play goal, which was like the second longest streak in a season to begin a season. Like something ridiculous. Like the record's like 35 goals or something in a season without a power play goal. And he was at over 20 goals without a power play goal. It's kind of a stupid stat, but whatever.
Well, got to be able to score 5-on-5.
It's true. Ottawa's stepping it up right now too.
Yeah, they're putting themselves in the picture.
Who do you think's going to make it in the East?
Let me pull up the standings.
Well, we have Boston that's already in, and then we have Ottawa pushing, and Florida was pushing, but they've lost ground, especially in that game that we're going to talk about here in a little bit, but they lost to Toronto at home, which definitely didn't help them.
Oh, this is tough. I think Ottawa can push for that second wild card spot. Washington's, I mean, they're only on one game losing streak, but I think they'll, they're 8 points ahead of Boston right now in the wild card standings, so I think they'll be fine. But I think Ottawa, with the way they're playing, I think they could take that second wild card spot for sure.
So I threw out the question of who people thought was going to win the Calder Trophy, and Buff Schaffe says Forsberg, no question. Confidence right there. Mary also said Forsberg, but she's a homer, and she said if not, it'd be Johnny Hockey. I think Johnny Hockey might get nominated, but I don't know if he's going to be the winner.
I think he'll get nominated for sure, but I mean, if he gets nominated with Forsberg, I don't see it going to anyone except Forsberg, just because of the season he's having.
LaFon's throwing in Hoffman as a homer pick, but says he likes Anders Lee or Ekblad. Now, Anders Lee has had a good season, but I don't know if he's there yet. I don't think that he, unless he has a really good last quarter of the season, I don't know if I would put him in that category. And Lacria says that the baby Penguins are going to win. And then, wait, wrong Calder. Yes. There is the Calder Cup, which obviously goes to AHL champion. And how are you going to pick the baby Penguins? Come on. We all know Manchester's going to win that one. I'm totally a homer there.
We appreciate the Lacria.
Actually, the AHL season is winding down pretty soon, so I mean, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, they're pretty good, but I think right now, there's so many good teams. It's kind of hard to. Hershey Bears might be the favorite. Anyway, back to Florida. This week, they did lose to Toronto, and in that game...
Oh, my God.
What?
It's just the Toronto-Florida game. It was probably the only time that I was heavily invested in that game, just because, for those that weren't paying attention, Luongo went down with an injury. Took a puck to the side of the head, I believe. He went down. Montoya went down to make a save, and I think he kind of got crushed by a couple of guys in the scramble in front of the net, and he went down with an injury. So there was questions of who was going to be in net. I think Scotty Upshaw walked down the tunnel to go put the pads on. I believe McKenzie walked down as well, and then Dale Tallis was the man that ended up suiting up on the bench. But it was a very real possibility that we were going to see a player play goalie, which I was seriously hoping for.
I was too. I don't know how bad that is. I mean, I never root for injuries, but
I don't either, and it kind of upset me to see Montoya in net because it was very clear from the saves he was making he was in some pain.
Yeah. I don't know why they didn't just stop the game and wait for somebody else to suit up.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think you're, especially, with the team that's on the cusp of making a playoff run, or a run through the playoffs, why would you want to risk that? Yeah, selfishly, I wanted Montoya to just be like, I can't do this anymore, and so that we could see just a player in net that didn't traditionally play goal, but ended up being just getting the goalie coach out there with the pads on.
Now, Tallis, who ended up suiting up, actually 2 years to the day, had suited up for them previously as well.
Oh, yeah, he went out and took warm-ups.
Yeah, and funny enough, because it was emergency, he didn't have a jersey, and he put on Luongo's old #1 jersey. And this was before Luongo was even with the team again, so I thought that was funny. And then I also heard that the reason that he didn't suit up sooner was because the NHL had to approve it. And I was like, so people are now saying that there needs to be some sort of rule change for this, for emergencies like this, because there's no way that they should have had to even think about putting McKenzie or Scotty Upshaw in there when they already had a backup plan. Because he was their backup plan, but then they were like, oh, he isn't signed, so the NHL won't let him. So they're thinking about redoing something within the rules of the CBA in case this happens again.
I remember I was watching the Wild game and I just switched over as fast as I could when I saw the tweets rolling in about it. I was like, this is going to be history.
I heard that it's been since, I think, 1960 was the last time that they actually had a goalie have to do that.
Yep.
So it's been quite a while.
Oh, man. It's just, everything's funnier when you're wearing big pads.
So that's like one of those mythical, like, white whales that everybody wants to see happen at some point, but it never will.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, is there something else that you haven't either seen in your lifetime or only heard about in your lifetime in a hockey game that you want to see?
Scoring a goal 5 ways.
Only Mario Lemieux has done that.
Yes, and especially now with how the game's changed, I don't think I'm going to see that in my lifetime, but I'd love to. Just because of how rare it is, you have to get a shorthanded goal, power play goal, even strength goal. What am I missing? Empty netter, and
he did shorthand, power play, 5-on-5, empty. Oh, penalty shot.
Oh, that's right.
And a penalty shot. Oh, I don't know if anybody will ever do that.
No, the circumstances that would have to lead up to that would, like, the stars would have to align properly for that to happen again.
That is something that, even though it happened while I was a fan, I never actually watched it happen. Like, I just heard about it. So, yeah, that would be incredible.
I would like to see a gold medal won on U.S. soil for hockey, but that's not going to happen for a while. Just
2002.
We had our chance. And that was also the anniversary of the 1980 game, too.
I know.
With Herbie coaching.
Honestly, I couldn't even believe that the U.S. made the gold medal game that year because our team was not that good. So.
Telling you, man, Herb Brooks is a magician.
We legitimately, I thought, had a chance in 2010 in Vancouver.
No, I thought so too. I thought
I thought we had the second best team in that tournament, so I was like, oh, that's cool. But 2002, I was like, oh wow, we actually got a silver. I'm just cool with silver.
No, I'd love to see a gold medal won on U.S. soil. I don't even have to be there in person to watch it. Just watching it on TV would be good enough for me, but that's something I don't think we're going to see for a while.
I think as far as I go, I'm trying to think. I asked this question without really thinking about it myself, but there isn't much I haven't seen that I need to see. I think I would like to see somebody come close to Gerald Sittler's record. I don't think that we will. I mean, or break that record of 10 points in one game.
I mean, yeah, Sam Gagne come close. He had
he got 8. But I don't know. It's going to be so hard to get 10. I would like to see that, though. I guess that's something I would want to see.
That'd be quite the feat.
I mean, I can't remember the last time. I've seen 9 goals recently. I know that. I can't remember the last time I saw a 10-goal game in the NHL.
Are you talking like overall 10 goals?
No, by one team. So you would have to get 10 goals. At least 10 goals is one team for a guy to get 10 points in a game.
Oh, God.
I can't remember the last time a team scored 10 goals in a game. So.
Yeah, that's I mean, we're lucky even now just to see 5 goals in a game by one team.
Oh yeah.
It's all about that possession, man.
Getting my Corsi on. So, they don't call it Corsi, they call it SAT on the
Yeah.
NHL's stats.
Shot attempts and unblocked shot attempts.
Mm-hmm.
Corsi and Fenwick.
Now, these stats that they put on their website are now going to be counted into arbitration or other things for players.
Mhm.
Anything that the NHL officially tracks can be brought into arbitration or contract discussions for players. So that wasn't the case until now. So how much, now that the NHL actually cares about these stats and puts them out there, and this is something that they obviously give enough credence to where they're saying that you could look at their stats and say this player is better because of these stats compared to the rest of his competition.
Mm-hmm.
When you're looking at awards, how much do you give into this? Obviously, with the Selke, you can look at something like that and say, oh, Bergeron, Kopitar, Datsuk all have great Corsi.
I think the Norris would be a good one, too, to look at for that.
Now, with the Norris, here's what I was going to bring up, because obviously I'm a homer, and I don't want to be like, oh, well, Doughty has the best SAT in the league, which he does. So great. But obviously he's one of the best defensemen. He's leading the league in ice time as well. But because he's on the ice more than anybody else, could you make the argument that, of course, his Corsi is going to be higher because his team is good at Corsi and he's on the ice more than anybody?
I think you have to look at his Corsi relative in that case.
But Corsi relative only does Corsi relative to your other players on the team, right?
Which one am I thinking of that shows the change in your overall, just the team's Corsi when you're on the ice compared to when you're not on?
Now that's, that's Corsi relative.
Okay, yeah. So I'm thinking of the right thing. Yeah, I think, I mean, if you want to bring up that so we'll just keep using Doughty as an example. If somebody wanted to argue that just because he's on the ice more, I think then you'd have to, I think Corsi relative would be something you also have to look at, just kind of to show just how of a quality player you are when you're on the ice compared to when you're off. Because I mean, Giordano last year, I think his Corsi relative was the highest out of all defensemen at 11%. And I think the next highest was, I think, 5 or 6 maybe. And Giordano this year was in Norris talks until he went down with an injury, and now he had surgery. I don't know. I think it's going to be a while before, quote unquote, as they want to call it, enhanced stats.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a while before the writers and before the writers fully adopt that to look at the stats. I don't think they're going to adopt it fully. I think that they'll look at it, give it a little more closer look, I guess. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I'd be more interested. For me, I'm more interested in the contract talks and arbitration, especially for a team like Minnesota or Chicago, where puck possession's huge, where you have a guy that maybe he's not putting the puck in net 30 times a year. Maybe it's only like 15 times a year, but his Corsi's still at 54, 55%. It's also good when the team's down. So I'd be more interested to see if a player goes to arbitration, what kind of deals are coming from that, just based on their enhanced stats or advanced stats. So I don't know. I think it's a pretty cool thing that it's finally happening. So that's my take on that. And I think Dave's muted. Oh, Dave, are you still there? You're having technical difficulties. Oh, yeah, Dave's not even in here. Well then, it's now our hockey cast featuring Birdbag only. So, tweet me your questions and I will answer them.
Sorry about that.
Oh, Dave's back. Damn it!
What were you talking about?
just Did you hear anything that I said at all, or were you on the fritz?
I heard it coming in and out, so it's okay.
Basically, I just mentioned that I was more interested in what's going to happen with contract deals now that advanced stats are tracked by the NHL. Because if you get a system like Minnesota or Chicago where puck possession is huge, it's going to change. I think you're going to get different results for a guy that's only putting up 15 goals, but his Corsi 4 is like at a 54%, and it's also in the positive when the team's down or ahead. I think that's going to change. That's going to change contract talks quite a bit between players and management. So I'm more interested to kind of see the deals, what kind of deals come from that. I also told people while you were gone that it's our hockey cast with Birdbag only, so tweet me the questions, but I don't think we got any.
It's okay. Sorry about that. I think that my cable company needs to get me a new modem because I've been having some trouble this last week. I've reset everything multiple times. My router's fairly new. I think that something's going on there. So, I was gonna say. So the NHL is considering putting tracking chips into jerseys in the All-Star game, and then you could get even more stats from that. Do you see any downside to that?
I mean, the only downside I see to these stats coming into more prevalence is people are going to put more stock into them than... Or, let me rephrase, they're going to blindly trust them over everything else and not take into account that anything else that happens on the ice. That's my only fear. Not necessarily fear, but I think that's a possibility that could happen, so we have to remember, too, that stats are imperfect. Corsi's imperfect as well. It's not gonna. I think a lot of. I know some of the misconception with it is that it's going to predict who's going to score, which is absolutely not the case. So, as far as the tracking chips go, I think it's actually pretty cool. Obviously, we tried that with the the Fox tracks a while back with the pucks and trying to so that people could see the puck a little better on TV.
Yeah.
So I think, they unveiled it at the All-Star game, which is pretty neat, just to kind of see them flying around the ice and you can get an exact speed on it, which was pretty cool. I don't know. I could see that being a good way to track development and regression for players. So when a player hits a certain age, if they're slow, you're going to be able to tell now if they're actually slowing down, if their shot's getting softer, or in a rookie's case, if their shot's getting harder, if they're speeding up. Ooh, that's a really nasty high stick. So I don't know. I think just from a fan perspective, though, it'll be cool to see, like on replays, just the puck movement, because sometimes, obviously we can see it on the screen, but I think it's kind of cool that they'd be able to track the path that the puck took before it got shot into the net. So I think having visuals like that is never a bad thing. As long as they don't go to John Madden levels on the screen with it, I think it'll be pretty cool to see.
I'd be interested to see how it affects people in different systems of play. Because once you can track a player and how much he's actually moving and on the ice and how far he travels during a game, it'd be interesting to see, like, if somebody plays in a certain system, if you would see a noticeable difference in how much they're actually moving, or if they're working harder based on that system, or the position that they play in a system, or things like that. And then maybe you would be able to look at that and say, well, you know what? If our left-wing lock is causing, this guy in this position to have to work twice as hard as this guy over here, maybe we need to put a different player there that's better at working harder there, or something, something along those lines, because you notice it immediately that this guy's putting in twice the effort based on how much more skating he has to do, which you don't always necessarily see with just the naked eye.
I think coaches see that more, though. like a good coach will see that regardless of having the chip or not. I think I think that chip will be more of a definite, but I think coaches, they've been doing this for a while, so I think they'd be able to tell just by looking.
I
But
could see that. But I think the general public would be able to see that. And then you look at a guy and you're like, well, this guy isn't scoring that much. But then you're like, oh, but he's skating twice as much because he's back checking harder than anybody.
hmm no, excuse me.
Are you getting tired, Dave?
Dude, it's gonna be a long few days at work. Put it that way. No, I said it earlier that I'm excited. I like where hockey's at right now, and with all the new technology that's coming out, with what the NHL's trying to do to get more fan involvement, I think it's moving in a really good direction. Because something like this is you don't really see this in basketball, you don't see this in football, as far as I can tell. The only sport that I can think of that tracks speed is NASCAR, or F1 even.
Basketball tracks it now.
Oh, okay. Well, that tells you.
They do the tracking thing. This is actually where the NHL got the idea.
Which tells you how much I know, how much I pay attention to basketball.
Yeah, I was invited to do March Madness NCAA bracket today. I was like, I've literally watched 0 basketball games.
But do they track the ball or just the player speed?
They track players everything.
Okay.
Yeah, they're the first major sport to do that. But it's easy in basketball, kind of.
Yeah.
There's only 5 guys out there, and it's a smaller space than hockey.
Yeah. Well, the movement.
And also, the guys are on the court for longer usually.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a guy like Kobe or LeBron will play 40 minutes a night, so.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Exciting times in the NHL.
If I'm boring you, we can stop. It's cool.
No, dude, you're fine.
Anyway, I don't really have any other topics that I wanted to cover tonight, so I don't know if you had something in mind.
Nothing I can really think of. Right now, Duluth East is up 2-1 on Edina with 7:13 left in the third. So, fingers crossed that the Giant Killers can pull off another upset.
You know what's pissing me off right now is that the Flames are winning again. So annoying. Who told them that they could be good?
Probably Johnny Hockey, who said, look, if I'm going to trademark this, we got to be a good hockey team. I can't be Johnny Hockey on a crappy hockey team.
I already hate him.
The West is as excited as I am to see how the East is going to play out. I'm even more excited just how the West is going to play out. And I mean, part of that's because I'm a fan of a Western team, but I mean, you have so many teams that are right now that could be knocking on the door for a playoff spot in that second wild card position. So,
who makes it in on the West, Dave?
I think
Portland's out now. Giordano's out now.
I think we're going to see Minnesota and I think we'll see Minnesota and LA.
And then who's out?
Winnipeg.
Ooh. Buffs Buffet is not going to enjoy hearing you say that.
Actually, no. Sorry, I got my. Never mind. I got my standings all mixed up. Calgary's going to be out. Sorry. Because if LA gets it, then they'd be third in the Pacific. So yeah, Calgary's out. Winnipeg's in. I think
Vancouver might drop.
Yeah, God, there's such a difference in the Pacific compared to the Central. Who's your President's Trophy favorite right now between Nashville and Anaheim? Because Nashville's only 2 points behind.
Easier division in the Pacific this year, so I'm going with Anaheim.
I would. I'd say that's fair. Just looking at the schedule, the upcoming 5 for Anaheim compared to.
Nashville's lost 5 in a row. They're kind of reeling right now. Anaheim's won 4 in a row. And like I said, I mean, they get to play Arizona and Edmonton and all these other guys that are terrible out here. And they've done really well against the Pacific. Nashville has a much tougher division, especially with guys like Minnesota stepping it up, Winnipeg chasing.
Minnesota is actually the best. Has been the best team in the last 10 games in the West.
I think they've been the best team in the last 20 games, if I read that correctly.
I know for certain they've been the best road team since the 15th, since the All-Star break. It's been pretty ridiculous, just the changing confidence with everyone on the team.
I'm going to look it up right now, but I think I heard that they were like 16-2-1 in their last 19 or something ridiculous. So,
yep.
Is that true?
Something like that, yeah. It's ridiculous. Dubnyk has, I think he's set a franchise record for most consecutive starts too, I believe, at 20+, which was previously held by Backstrom.
I think okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's 15-2-1. I think I just counted that. I might have to check again. But yeah, it's 15 or 16-2-1 in their last whatever.
Yeah.
And the game before that was a loss in a shootout as well, so.
I still think if Josh Harden didn't break his foot, we'd be in the top 3 for Central. But that's another argument for a different time.
I would almost agree with you.
We're coming for you, Chicago.
I hope you do. All the Chicago haters. This Operation Regicide. Go fuck themselves, and I hope that somehow Chicago just chokes it away and doesn't make the playoffs, which I know is not going to happen, but I can dream. Actually, you know what? That's not necessarily completely unrealistic to think, because if Winnipeg and Minnesota pass them, it can happen.
I think Minnesota has a pretty likely shot at passing them. I don't know if Winnipeg could.
Oh, you bet with Ari on that, didn't you?
Yeah. So I'm really hoping that Minnesota can pull this out, but we'll see. We have a ridiculously tough schedule to end the season.
By the way, a tweet from somebody in New Zealand who's a Kings fan, by the way.
Oh, Kiriwish, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He just tweeted out, Adina about to learn that contrary to their parents' opinions, they cannot have their cake and eat it too. Hashtag.
Well,
so you got New Zealand watching the high school tournament in Minnesota. I like it.
I can't remember if he has any ties to Minnesota or not, but I know he's a Gophers fan.
Oh, maybe he does then. I know he's a Kings fan. Though.
Yeah. Well, it's 4:30 left in the third period right now. Duluth. It's getting to be a pretty chippy game, but Duluth's putting up a good defensive fight right here. I'd be so happy if STA and Adina got knocked out.
Well, what are you looking forward to this weekend in hockey?
I'm looking forward to see who's going to win the state tournament.
That's gonna wrap up this weekend?
Tomorrow. Yep.
Oh wow! So this is semis or what?
Yeah, semis. Yeah, so it goes quarters, semis, and finals on Saturday. Right now, if I remember right, it's Hermantown for Class A. It's Hermantown versus East Grand Forks, which is a matchup from last year, and which East Grand Forks won. Hermantown is a team that a lot of people say should be playing in 2A because they've been in the championship game for 6 consecutive years, and they've lost each time. Previously, all their losses were to private schools. It was to SDA when they were playing in Class A, those fucking sandbaggers, and Breck, which is another private school. Yeah, Hermantown is just they've been demolishing Class A. I think they should be playing in 2A, but I believe their coach, from what he believes, is that they should still be playing in Class A. So, whatever to help pat that trophy case, bud. And then, this game right here is going to determine who's going to be playing Lakeville North, which is probably, honestly, I think is the favorite to win this, to win Class 2A, just because they have 7 D1 college commits on their team, which is Yeah, I think that's I think the only other. I think the next closest team is 3. I think, but yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to this. It's yeah, like I said, Wild play 82 games plus the season. High
Oh,
school hockey.
how are the Gophers doing, by the way?
Well, they won against Ohio State tonight, which is good. They won 4-2. Not as good as I had hoped. They're ranked 15th right now, I believe.
Well, when does the March tournament start?
It starts.
Minnesota's ranked 12th right now, by the way.
Which poll are you looking at? U.S. Which?
RPI.
Okay, I'm going by. I think
USA Today.
No, I think pairwise.
USA Today does have them as 15.
I think pairwise they're 15 or 12th, which actually does count. I don't know. Season hasn't been going as well as I'd hoped, but at the same time too, we're a young team, so there's going to be some growing pains. There was a stretch of the season where it was super rough. Oh, that was dirty.
Now in the Frozen tournament,
Frozen 4.
Yeah, it's not.
It's
4 teams. It's 16, right?
Yeah, 16. So 8. There's 4 regionals, and yeah, 4 regionals, 8 teams on each side of the bracket. I guess you could say. I think the women's tournament is actually 8 teams, just because D1 women's is small compared to men's.
So only 16 teams make it to the tournament. How do they decide which 16 teams?
A lot of it now is so I believe if you win your conference, tournament, that is the determiner. So if you win your conference tournament, you get an automatic bid. But then you get at-large bids, which I for the life of me right now I cannot remember how they are calculated. I'll have to get a refresher on it. It's been a while since I've looked at the rules for that.
It's okay. Anyway, I'm excited for it. I always like watching the Frozen 4. I wish that we had any decent college hockey out here, but
I think you know what, Arizona State in their program I think is going to do quite a bit to help grow the game, or college hockey specifically, out in that area. Because I mean, ASU already had a pretty heated rivalry with U of A down Tucson. And I know that in California there's at least 6 club teams out there.
yeah, UCLA and USC both have club teams.
I
A
honestly
friend of mine played for San Diego State's club team as well. He's originally from Edmonton.
Yep. I honestly wouldn't be shocked if we see some within the next 5 years if we see a California team announce a college hockey team, a D1 team.
I actually wouldn't be surprised if it was a Bay Area team. Either Bay Area or LA, because the Junior Kings have a decent program. Nope, we don't have a college in Orange County that's big enough to do it, so I don't know that the Ducks would have anything here in Orange County, but yeah, you're right. I mean, I could see it, but it's going to take some work still.
Sorry, I'm just super engrossed in this game right now.
It's okay.
So,
Anyway.
Minute 30 left, Duluth East is up 3-1.
I saw today that NHL.com had an article about Yager being the 3rd greatest forward of all time.
I saw that too, and I disagreed.
Oh my god. Realistically, if he had stayed in the NHL and produced at a high level instead of going to Europe to play, I think he would have numbers to put him number 2 ahead of Messier, but I don't necessarily know that you could compare him. I mean, even if you compare him to somebody that's played as long like Gordie Howe played in an era where they played 70 games, sometimes less than 70 games when he first began.
Oh, Dave, you're cutting out again. Well, technical difficulties with Dave. There's currently 50 seconds left in this game. and it's unless Edina has a miracle. Looks like Duluth East is going to the championship game, so not gonna say anything certain though because I don't want to jinx it. See if Dave's still having problems. Dave. Well, if you have any questions, hit up our HockeyCast. Ask. We can have a little Ask Bird Bag. Little Ask Bird Bag section. Oh my God, it's gonna happen. I think Dave's still having some problems. He's definitely having problems. I don't know what to do. I'm so alone. Anyway, so the Class 2A championship games is looking like it's going to be Duluth East and Lakeville North. Edina's going to go home. Oh, Dave's internet died. Well, I can't really end this thing. So, oh my God, that is so sad. They just did a shot of Edina's goalie. He had his head down. Oh,
Okay, I'm back.
Dave's back. You know, as much as I hate Edina, I really don't. I'm not a fan of the camera work, even though I know it makes for good TV. Edina's goalie had his head down on the bench, and I can only assume that he was crying because he had two of his teammates. He had two of his teammates on there trying to console him. I'm pretty sure to tell him it's not his fault, but that's as much as I don't like Edina. That's rough to see.
I don't really get phased by it.
You know what? I don't. When they're professional athletes, I don't. But when they're kids, it's different, I think. Because
I think it just adds to the entertainment value.
I think it does. I think it does. But
sports is about entertainment. I mean, I know that these kids aren't getting paid for this, so maybe that's harsh to say, but
oh God, I'm so happy. I think it's different with kids because, you know, a lot of these kids, this is going to be the highlight of their careers. They're not going to. Some of them are going to go on to play maybe D3 college, but this is probably going to be, even getting to the state championship game, this is going to be probably the biggest accomplishment for them. So I think that's why it's rough for me to see, you know, kids crying on the bench.
I can see that.
It's rough to see.
Well, they will learn a valuable lesson from this. And that lesson is that they should never, ever lose. I'm just kidding.
I saw Austin's question. Minor fan here. If you were a piece of celery, would you rather be a full stock or cut up and put into a soup? You know, Austin, I think this is more of a question of what kind of soup I would be put in. Is this going to be something like chicken noodle soup or something else? So really, that's kind of what it depends on for me. Right now, I think I'd rather be a full stock, but depending on the soup, I could definitely go for the soup. So thank you for your question, sir. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I think that I would rather be a full stock. Then I could be put into a Bloody Mary.
Ooh, here you go.
Well, I am going to... My computer's telling me I'm having connectivity issues, so I'm going to log off now and figure out what's going on with that, since obviously that's fun.
I think we had a pretty good podcast today.
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, not as long as some, but we also just the two of us.
Yeah.
Just the two of us.
We can make it if we try.
Anyway, I appreciate those of you that listened and gave us feedback, and as always, you can find us at our HockeyCast. Also, we are now on iTunes.
Yes, go subscribe. Even though the files are super huge, so we'll probably have to cut these down to like an hour.
Yeah, I don't know what we can do on iTunes in order to cut these down, but we are on iTunes, so you can search for our HockeyCast. And woo!
Hooray!
We'll see you guys later.
Yep.
We might. I know that there's. I know you should also listen to some of these other shows that are on here, like the Wooden Ball Show, which is on tomorrow, and then they did another show this past week on trade deadline day with Dave Ball and some other people discussing that. So I don't know what they actually named that. It was just like trade deadline show. Boom. So. And as always, you can find me on Twitter and Reddit at LA Kings Dave, and you can find Birding over there at Birdbag on Twitter, and Abe Foreman 1986 on Reddit.
You can also find me on @TaylorSwift13. That's my alternate account.
Do you really? I don't know. Is that her account?
That's actually her account.
Oh, I had no idea. Sorry. I'm sorry that I'm not as big of a Taylor Swift fan as you.
It's okay, Dave. I won't hold it against you or anything.
I think you will. Alright, everybody have a good night. Dave, we'll talk to you later.
See you. Apparently we're still alive, but maybe if I leave, that'll go off air. Oh, control room. Well, I can't do anything.